How often do you complain about gas prices? I know I do a lot. Unfortunately, it is not an expense we can avoid. Our cars use it, and though electric vehicles are starting to go into production, they rely on coal power to charge that electric battery. Essentially, you are trading one fossil fuel for another, and energy companies do not seem to be in a hurry to fix the issue or find an alternative. However, one man claims to have invented a fuel cell that ran on the most available resource known to man: water. Yet he died before his invention could be fully realized, and his death was very suspicious. Let's talk about it. This is the story of a man with a vision, a bold one. This is Stanley Meyer, an inventor born on August 24th, 1940, who wanted to change how people drove. Meyer was an American inventor who claimed to have developed a water fuel cell that could power vehicles and generate electricity using only water as fuel. He said that he invented his water fuel cell in the early 1980s after studying the work of Nikola Tesla. Meyer's invention was met with skepticism from many within the scientific community, but he attracted a following of supporters who believed that his technology could revolutionize the energy industry. Meyer released very few details about his water fuel cell technology, but he claimed that it was highly efficient, cheap, and produced no emissions. He also said that his device was relatively inexpensive to build and could be used to power a variety of vehicles and machines. So, how did this device work? He claimed that it used a process called water splitting electrolysis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It broke down water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen gas. The gases were then mixed and ignited in a combustion chamber, producing energy. The contemporary scientific community was quick to point out problems with this model. They said that water splitting electrolysis is a well-known scientific process, but it is very inefficient. It takes more energy to split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen gas than the energy that is released when the gases are recombined. That is why water splitting electrolysis is not used commercially to produce hydrogen fuel. Meyer claimed that his water fuel cell was able to overcome the inefficiency of water splitting electrolysis by using a special catalyst. He said that his catalyst was able to produce hydrogen and oxygen gas from water with very little energy input. He told the LA Times, "My invention has the potential to change the world. It will make oil obsolete and bring about a new era of clean, renewable energy." Now, the scientific community does what they always do when someone has an original idea. They turned on him. Scientists refused to publish any studies on his findings and largely ignored him despite the press coverage he was garnering. Many scientists argued that Meyer's claims were implausible and that his device could not possibly work as he described. However, Meyer refused to release the details of his technology for independent testing, and he continued to demonstrate his water fuel cell to potential investors and supporters. He basically said, whatever. I mean, as an aside, I do not really blame him. Scientists and engineers refuse to work with him or even talk with him in a good faith manner. Why should he share his secrets with them? It makes no sense to me. Like any establishment, they turned on him. Two investors sued Stanley Meyer, claiming his invention was fraudulent. They called a so-called expert witness named Michael Lafton to the stand. Lafton, yeah. He was some high society professor who, along with two others, examined Meyer's water fuel cell and claimed that there was nothing revolutionary about the cell at all and that it was simply using conventional electrolysis. Meyer was found to have perpetuated gross and egregious fraud by the Ohio court and ordered to pay a 25 grand in fees. Then he got a phone call, one that would prove to be fateful. In 1996, Meyer was approached by a group of investors who offered to pay him $1 million to the rights to his fuel cell technology. After meeting with the investors, Meyer ran out of the restaurant yelling that he had been poisoned. He died soon after on March 20th, 1998. After an investigation, the local police agreed with the Franklin County coroner's report that ruled that Meyer, who had high blood pressure, died of a cerebral aneurysm. However, many, including his own brother, believed that he was poisoned. It certainly seems very suspicious, especially when you look up how many scientists, engineers, and mechanics who have claimed to find new energy sources go missing or die under bizarre circumstances. Meyer is no different. And to be clear, I am not anti-science or even anti-scientist, but these institutions such as colleges or museums or conservatories claiming a monopoly on science is wrong. It is one thing to take a hypothesis by someone like Meyer and say, here is a study to prove him wrong, or we tried to replicate this battery and could not do it. That is the right way to go. That is science. But that is not what the science community did. They humiliated him, they manipulated lawsuits, and they tried to smear him. That is not science. That is the experts being angry someone beat them to a new possibility. It's mafia tactics. And whether or not you believe there's a conspiracy surrounding Meyer's death, the sheer hysterics the scientific community engaged in to discredit him was downright sinister. After his death, all interest in Stanley Meyer's water fuel cell seems to have evaporated in the mainstream scientific community, who never really cared to begin with. Those who believed his invention was revolutionary and that there was a lot of suspicion surrounding his death have carried on with his studies. Personally, I see their point. The Meyer water fuel cell patents entered the public domain. This means that anyone can now use Meyer's technology without paying royalties. Hopefully, someone will be able to solve any potential problems and replicate his technology. Despite his mysterious death, Stanley Meyer was a genius who wanted to change the world, and his legacy lives on forever. What do you think? Is there a conspiracy around Stanley Meyer's death? And do you think his water fuel cell could have worked? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did so, be sure to like, share, and subscribe here at StudioJake After Dark. Don't forget, you can support me on my locals community. The link is in the description. And don't forget to ask, what happens when you turn out the lights?